I had a few questions about filter dimensions from the previous video. The height, I labeled it as depth because I was looking down on it, but the height of the 400 filter is 1.3 inches, 680 is 1.8, 590 is 1.4. The width here on the 590 filter is irrelevant because it's already made to fit this panel. The 680 width is 3.1. The 490 width is 2.5. The big issue with the 490 is when it's centered over your mounting screw, it obscures the intake. See, that's pretty much centered, and a large portion of the intake is obscured. The amount of thread left exposed on your screw, so you can try and get the top cover on. I'm going to need a 1/2 inch. I'm at 0.3 on the 680 filter. Might be able to, well, I thought you might be able to clearance this a little bit, but then I forgot that the rest of the top cover pretty much sits flat up against it. The thumb screw on the top of the 590 cover does not protrude out. It's flush, or the threads, I believe, are even sunk in a little bit. So you have to have at least a 1/2 inch of clearance for proper thread engagement. So I guess, maybe it's a 1/4 inch of thread engagement is all that thumb screw has. But I imagine it kind of pushes this filter. The filter doesn't seem to compress much. But I really think currently, I hadn't checked price on these, but I don't imagine them to be significantly expensive. Most of the plastics for the Echo stuff are very, very reasonable. But this one centered would leave my intake open. I don't think I'd have to put epoxy in order to seal like where the head of the screws goes. I think that the epoxy dam or epoxy base would end up being further away from where that screw head would be, to where it wouldn't interfere. But the ultimate goal, I like everything looking stock. Even when I had hot rod stuff or played with hot rod stuff, I wanted my truck to look completely stock. That's kind of the reason for using the single outlet muffler on this one, just modifying the factory part of it. But I'd like to use the factory air cleaner cover. I'd just like to be able to put this filter in it. I think that's a weekend project. It does not seem super, super difficult. My only issues I'm really seeing are going to be here, where your clearance for your choke rod is. Might be possible to maybe make a carb spacer. Like a little intake block carb spacer. Put it behind here, and then that would eliminate my clearance issue. But we'll come down to that road. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But there's your measurements. Just as a FYI, the 400 filter and air filter horn will bolt up to your CS 490s, 4910s, 501s. But again, you can't use the cover because it's not there. There's no mounting provision at that point. I am going to order a CS 450 intake. They use the same filter and top cover, but I think the air, like the part that mounts the carburetor, I'm calling it the air horn, which it's probably a little stupid. I want to say the inlet on the one for the 450 is bigger, so it's more like a velocity stack. But I'll find out when I order one.